gone too far this time, but I'm dancing on the Valentine.
The 1980s brought wild fashions and still wilder hair. And these Birmingham boys epitomised the new cool. Duran Duran were bouncing back, and this, The Reflex, was their most successful single. And talking of wild hair, it seems a long while ago that I was a presenter of Midlands Today. Now I work in my own training company, but the programme was a big part of my life back then, and I guess it was for you too.
Miners and their supporters turned out in their thousands for the march through Birmingham to
In 1984, one story dominated the headlines, the miners' strike that was to last a whole year. Miners' leader Arthur Scargill led a march through Birmingham.
We're going into the 18th week of a strike. We've come too far for anything other than to win a victory.
Eventually, of course, the miners went back, but pit after pit closed. And it was a long and painful death for the once mighty Midlands mining industry. The last chapter only last year with the closure of Dormill Colliery, our last deep pit in Warwickshire.
I've seen men with tears in their eyes this morning when they were emptying the lockers, knowing that that's it, they're finished, they're on the scrap heap.
Today, community leaders and the police are counting the cost of last night's riots.
The Handsworth riots of 1985. We saw 2 days of violence, mainly along the Lascelles Road. It flared up following the arrest of a black man in a stop and search operation. Even now the scars run deep, but today Handsworth is a thriving multicultural part of Birmingham. Now sometimes you have to dig just a little bit deeper for a story.
2 weeks ago, the covers were being taken off at the Dudley Cricket Ground. There was a strange sucking noise, and a crater 40 feet wide appeared not far from the wicket. 100 feet below ground, the cause of all the trouble. The remains of the limestone mines that meant work for the men of Dudley for 2 centuries.
But our cameras were well above ground to tell this next tale.
St Martin's is about 400 feet high, with the spire just over 200 feet high. Applause from the crowd, waves from Rachel, and a bit of history made in Birmingham today.
Hey, it was 1986, remember? Health and safety? What health and safety?
Anxious? Of course not. How would you feel going flying in a laundry basket?
My presenting colleague Sue Beardsmore was determined to go to new heights for the story. Yes, Midlands Today had its very own balloon. Who said we were all hot air? But of course there have been times when it hasn't all gone strictly according to plan. 5 words: Alan Towers with a parachute.
It's a bad landing.
And it certainly was. Ouch. For his fearless pursuit of the story, Alan earned himself a broken ankle and a certain Auntie's bloomer. With improving television technology and increased competition to report the Midlands news, there was a need for speed. The Birmingham Super Prix saw thousands throng to an inner-city racetrack, although not before the Birmingham Road Race Bill became an Act of Parliament in 1985. Staying on the roads, in 1991, Midlands Today's legendary reporter John Yates met Britain's oldest motorist, just 3 months short of his 100th birthday. The driver, that is, not John.
So what do you think of people who come up behind and toot you?
I take no notice.
John Yates there and here with what must be the finest ever description of the raucous Atherstone ball game in Warwickshire.
The Shrove Tuesday ball game does for modern-day soccer what Attila the Hun did for flower arranging. Its origins are steeped in the mists of time, its participants more often in the mists of alcohol.
There were some big news stories that in the early 90s gripped viewers. River flooding in the Midlands isn't unusual, of course, but when the River Severn burst its banks 24 years ago, many of you struggled to cope. Some even were running short of food.
Here's your pudding, Rose.
Thank you.
And I hope you're all right.
Thank you very much.
For Rose, her problem should soon be over. Her daughter is coming here this afternoon and taking her away. But for a lot of people here in Worcester, there's nowhere else to go, and for the foreseeable future, the floods are set to stay.
In 1991, a royal opening for the International Convention Centre, bringing much needed investment and jobs in the depths of a recession. So another 10 years older, in my case another 10 years greyer, a decade of extraordinary memories. Midlands today is 50. And did you know that on our 25th anniversary we even had a train named after us by British Rail? And yes, it was as punctual as ever.